Hey everybody, it's Safi, and Marco's here too to add or ask a question or whatever he wants to do. I'm doing a book review today for our Just One More Page book review podcast.
To be or not to be?
Well, it's been a while since I've done a book review, but that doesn't mean I haven't read any books. On the contrary, for the past several awful winter months, I have listened to more than a dozen mostly cozy mysteries by writers like Victoria Hamilton, Leslie Meyer, Louise Penny, Lynn Cahoon, and Amanda Flower. They have kept me entertained, especially while doing chores like dishwashing, where obviously you can't hold a book and physically turn pages. Today I am reviewing the Magical Bookshop Mystery Series by Amanda Flower. The first book in the series is called Crime and Poetry. The second book is Prose, Prose, and Cons, and her latest volume is Murders and Metaphors. I actually bought the last one because it just came out and I couldn't wait to read it. Violet Waverly is summoned to Cascade Springs outside Niagara Falls, New York, by her grandmother Daisy, who has fallen ill and needs her help. It's been 10 years since Violet stepped foot into town. As a teenager, she had been accused of murdering her best friend, who had fallen off a hillside next to a river and died from impact. Because Violet found her, she was accused of pushing her down the ravine and causing her death. What made matters worse was that her steady boyfriend Nathan sided with the police in order to preserve his family reputation as wealthy vineyard owners. His parents, especially his mother, encouraged this behavior because they did not think Violet was good enough for their son. As Grandma Daisy was her only living relative, Violet's mother had died of cancer and she didn't even know her father's identity. Violet had to come back momentarily because she had to return to Chicago for a part-time job and working on a dissertation in American literature. But it was all a ruse. Daisy wasn't sick. She just wanted her granddaughter to come home at least for a visit, but better yet to stay there forever. She also had a secret to tell her that would impact Violet for the rest of her life. That secret drives the underlying story in all the books. Charming Books, the name of Daisy and Violet's bookshop, has been in their family since the 1800s. It didn't start out as a bookshop, but as an ordinary residence on the street, with a staircase that twined around a giant birch tree. Local Native Americans in the area believe the birch tree is sacred, and the whole ground beneath the house has some magical spiritual power. Every female member of Daisy and Violet's family who lived in or worked in the bookshop becomes the tree's caretaker. It's up to the caretaker to venture into the dark of night every 2 days and gather a watering can of spring water out in the backwoods and feed the tree growing in the bookshop. On the face of it, that may sound eccentric, but the tree and bookshop are all magical because whenever a customer comes into the shop, the books in it will move around surreptitiously and somehow get to the customer who is interested in a certain book or subject, which might involve multiple books. They may appear near Violet, and they also contain clues to helping her solve the latest mystery and will help her somehow solve. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Just a minute.
Safi can't find the next page of her book report.
Sorry. A book might actually fall right by the customer's foot or show up on a nearby table or chair. Daisy's daughter, Violet's mother, was the last caretaker before she passed away, and Daisy had taken her place temporarily until Violet could fill the position. Although, as I said before, Daisy has to tell Violet first because she doesn't know about it. In Crime and Poetry, Daisy's boyfriend Benedict, a carriage driver, is found dead with her scarf around his neck, sitting atop his carriage in her driveway. Cascade Springs is a tourist town, and several carriages take tourists for tours to the springs, the winery that I talked about earlier, and around town. Unfortunately, Daisy becomes the primary suspect in Benedict's murder. Benedict.
Oh.
Another twist to the power of the bookshop, which I started to talk about too early, is the fact that books appear near Violet that contain clues to helping her solve the latest mysteries and will help her somehow solve Benedict's murder. In this case, poems by Emily Dickinson are what the bookshop pushes Violet to read that will help clear her grandmother. After she solves the case, Violet intends to return to Chicago because she's had a hard time forgetting the hurt she felt 10 years before by the town and her steady boyfriend turning against her. While trying to decipher the enigmatic clues in Emily Dickinson's 19th century writing, Violet adopts Emerson, a tuxedo cat who belonged to Benedict, the carriage driver. He joins Faulkner, the black crow, who Daisy rescued when she found him injured and unable to fly in back of the shop. Both have become the shop's mascots and also seem to adopt some of the magic qualities of the shop. Other characters in the book series are Chief Rainwater, the Native American police chief who is attracted to Violet and her to him, and Lacey, the wife and co-owner with her husband Andre, the head chef of a nearby restaurant called Le Crêpe Jolie. In Murders and Metaphors, Lacey gets accused of killing her highly successful sister Belinda. Louisa May Alcott's Little Women is what the bookshop shows Violet to solve the murder. In Pros and Cons, Sadie, the proprietor of a vintage clothing retail shop, is accused of murdering a member of the Red Inkers Writers Group, which meets in the charmed bookshop. Violet finds her dead at the bottom of the stairs near the tree. The bookshop magically points to Edgar Allan Poe's works to help Violet eventually clear Sadie. As you can tell, Violet decides she will stay in Cascade Springs and be the tree and bookshop's guardian. She also continues to work on her dissertation in Cascade Springs. She still wants to get her PhD and be a professor, as well as being caretaker of the birch tree in the bookshop. It's a fun mystery series which is very different from others I've read, and there's a lot out there from which to choose. I like the magical part and also found it very clever how Amanda Flowers uses famous authors' works to solve the mysteries. I also love the characters, which are perfectly described in the books. It makes me want to live there and know them all myself. I highly recommend the Magical Mystery Bookshop series. I would give it an A+.
That's all you're going to say for that 10-page book report?
That's all I'm going to say.
That's all you're gonna say?
Well, isn't that enough?
I don't know. What was your favorite scene in the book? Would that be a spoiler alert? Was there like a scene that sticks out that's a little vague compared to your whole book report?
Well, in the third book, which is her latest one, which is Murders and Metaphors.
That the final book contains your favorite scene in the whole series.
Well, there's some other scenes, but this is the murderer gets off a shot. I won't say anything more about the identity of the murderer, but it's a she. Gets off a shot and it hits the tree. And several weeks later, the tree is having a problem. It starts dropping off leaves and it looks bad.
And then the tree comes alive.
Well,
and
no,
it turns out to be the origin of Groot and Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, but
that would have been cool.
Well, I don't know how Amanda Flowers and the people in Guardians of the Galaxy could work out those issues of copyright, but what Amanda decides to do is she goes to the springs and she gets water from the springs and she pours it into the bullet hole, into the tree, and it heals up the hole. It disappears completely, and the tree's fine.
What? Who's your favorite character?
Well,
favorite character?
Violet, the main person in the book.
I thought you said she was annoying. She was like a nosy Parker.
No, that's in the one I'm reading right now.
Oh, okay. Spoiler alert, everybody, for another book review.
That's the one by, what's Victoria Hamilton? What's her name? Yeah, Victoria Hamilton. And, yeah. But no, she has a couple of friends, and they just seem... There's one named Sadie. Like I said, she has a vintage dress shop. And she's real friendly and just real sweet. And then there's Lacey, who is the one who's accused in Murders and Metaphors. And she's really nice, too. She was... And they always seem Violet and Lacey and Sadie, I think they all went to high school together. And Violet had this friend, I said she had died, and it was an accidental death. Nobody pushed her off the cliff. She fell accidentally. Somebody saw it.
Oh, you're spoiling that now too?
Well, I'll just say that. That's not part of any of the mysteries that are in the books. It comes out. And even though they had seen it, they let Violet be accused of murder when they knew what the real truth was.
Like in the Gorgon?
Yeah. Anyway, what was I going to say? Well, Lacey, she was friends with this girl, the one who died way back in high school. She was accused. And Lacey always wanted to be their friend, but they just were besties. This other girl and Violet were good friends, and it seemed like nobody could break that little bond. And so she becomes her friend now. And then there's Sadie, and it's just a really nice little group. And they all had their own businesses, and Lacey had met this chef who came down from Montreal.
Don't go through the whole plot.
I'm not going through any plot. They have this restaurant, and they make this great French food.
Spoiler alert.
Everybody loves it.
Spoiler alert.
It's not a spoiler alert. It's a business. One has vintage clothing. One is a restaurant owner, and her husband is the chef.
Oh.
And then Violet and her grandmother Daisy have this really cool bookshop that's an old house with a tree growing in the middle of the house. She has tree, what would you call it, cutters who come in and they trim it up so it doesn't mess with the ceiling. And I think it's really cool.
So
it's just really
you
different.
gave this book an A plus, right?
I gave it an A plus because they're fun and different, and because I think the author is very clever in using certain poems and lines in them in certain works that are they have like a general clue to how the mystery should be solved, but it's not real easy to figure it out. You're talking about 19th century writings, and it's really interesting.
So, where on you've said it's an A plus twice already. So, where would you rank this on a scale from the book where the doctor didn't wash his hands to the Anne Hillerman books? You remember that book that you gave away or something where you hated it so much?
I read it though.
The doctors didn't wash their hands.
Well, that was a true thing.
How would you rank it
years ago
on a scale from that to Anne Hillerman books?
Well, that was very. These are like fun, easy reads. Anne Hillerman's book she's working off her father's writing series, and he worked for years and wrote all these magnificent books, mystery books about the Southwest, and he was able to capture the culture of the different Native American groups in the area, but not complicated, just wove their beliefs into the story and just their general feelings and culture and they solved cases. And then he has a few main characters, and he passed away, and she picked up on that, which I think that's pretty.
But you haven't answered my question yet.
Well, they're just completely different. They're very easy to read too, and he already established the characters. She's working off already established characters. The only character that he had just introduced in the latter books is Manuelita. I think that's her name, the female cop who marries Joe Chi, and
let's not get too off track here. Let's answer the question. Where does this series rank on a scale from doctors who don't wash their hands to Anne Hillerman?
Well, that's not well, I guess that was a mystery. Well, I'm trying to think. We're not even saying the name of the books. This was based on very serious research about practices that doctors and nurses did a long time ago where they didn't wash their hands and they didn't wear masks and they went and treated patients and they went like doing gynecological exams and delivering babies. They went from patient to patients not washing their hands. And a lot of women got sick and passed away or got so sick that they were unable to ever have a child again.
But you're still not answering the question.
I don't know, Marco. I don't know what to say. My son is a millennial, and they are fascinated with ranking everything.
No, I'm just.
Everything is about ranking this and ranking that.
It's a funnier way of asking.
Okay, well I'll say
asking where does this rank on your books? Like, is it in the middle? Is it near the top? Is it a little below the middle? Where is it on your scale of books that you've read?
Oh,
well,
yeah. The Hillerman books are, I would say, they're number
favorite.
one.
Yeah, well, that's why I put it there.
And then the other book, which we really should know, next time I do a book review, I'm going to get the name.
Don't wash their hands.
I'm going to get the name of the author, who's a famous author and written a lot of books and even had TV series. based on a different set of books she's written on TV.
Was it Stephen King?
No, it's a woman who's a doctor actually, MD, and this series would rank third because they're just easy mysteries.
Third and
They're not
overall of
complicated.
everything you've ever read. I'm gonna take it to say is it's near the top.
Yeah.
But it's not at the top. So okay, that was my question all along.
Okay.
Before you started going on your ageist tirades.
Well, I'm doing that to think about what? Think about what you're saying, and which I have a hard time ranking things. And I noticed that on a movie site that I looked at on Facebook, they're into ranking things too. It's just like, well, I'm not calling it a sickness, but
Well, how would you
it's just a preoccupation.
how
How
would
about
you
that?
how would you rank our YouTube channel?
I don't know. I can't answer that. But that's it. And
Okay.
Ann Hillerman's new book in the series, the Lepornchi Southwestern Navajo series, it's out this month, but I haven't been able to get a copy yet.
And as soon as you do, you'll be reviewing it, right, Safi?
Right. As soon as
'Cause
I get it, I'll review it.
You're gonna keep flipping those pages and thinking about which page ranks the highest.
Maybe I'll do a book review on this latest Victoria Hamilton mystery book series. It's another cozy mystery book series. I'm on the 5th book in it. So it's about
Oh wait a second. What about how would you rank these books in the series? The third one is the
Oh,
first.
wow. I think the third one might be the best.
Because you had your favorite scene in it and everything. I would presume that one's the best.
The first one, it's good because everything's new,
Introduced.
but still, you're kind of testing out the waters on the story and the characters. And as you progress into more books, you're developing the characters
So
even more
the
and the
first
story.
the first one doesn't really have a complete story.
No,
Oh, okay.
a lot of things pop up in the later
Oh.
books.
So the first one's the worst. The second one's
It's not the worst. It's just
yeah, but it's the worst out of the
incomplete.
three because it's incomplete and it sucks
It doesn't suck, and it's not. Don't listen to him.
compared to the other two.
It doesn't suck compared to the other two. It lays out the framework for everything else.
You rank it number 3,
Well,
right? Because what about the second one? The second one
is with Sadie, and
that one's
and
the
that's
second
the
best, right?
that's the one where one of the Red Inkers, one of the book group's participants, it gets killed in the bookshop.
You already gave us your book report about it, but so the official ranking 3, 2, 1. You happy with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well then.
Okay, so I'm going to complete my little book review now. I hope you enjoy it, even though I got messed up in the middle of it, and I apologize for that. I hope that you decide to perhaps try that series, or there are so many other book series. But I would suggest you read about them and reviews or little blurbs about the books first, because there are a lot of them out there, and they're not all for everybody. And they all cover different parts of the country, the beach, Maine, Vermont.
Well, I would not recommend checking out that series. I would recommend instead subscribing to our YouTube channel and watching every single one of our 97 videos. Do that instead. And what we will be doing next is Stephen King's Silver Bullet.
And that's for our movie, the part of our channel,
Yeah.
movie review. And it will be the last movie in our Stephen King series.
And what will we be doing after that in regards to Stephen King?
Ranking the Stephen King movies which we watched.
Oh,
I don't know if that will include other ones that we did not
It
do
will.
or cover
It
over
will.
the week.
it will.
Okay, that'll be interesting.
That'll be fun. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. See you soon.